Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today has been a long-awaited day. So long that I waited an extra month for Black Friday sales. And that's why this tractor's been in here so long, otherwise the 504 would be in here. I got some goodies in this box. Not all of them are for this tractor, some of them for other things, not even mine. But I digress. Let's get to working on this thing. Now let's get to opening this. I promise you, I will have a workbench very soon here. Hopefully sooner than later. But for now, we're still just rocking the concrete floor is the workbench method right now. Oh, that's a lot of stuff. Alright, well here's the first big ticket item. So this is a steering wheel, in case you haven't been able to tell. So this steering wheel is not going to be for me. It's actually going to be for my neighbor that lets me bale his ditches. And his 656 that I was baling with earlier this year, I'll insert a video here of me bailing with it if I did catch a video, but I can't remember if I did. Well, he just had a generic replacement wheel on it. It wasn't an OEM. I'm pretty sure this is an OEM replica. This is an original. But this is going to be for his 656. It's going to be a Christmas gift as a token of my gratitude for letting me bale his ditches. As well as, I think this is it right here. Yep. The center power steering button as well. Alrighty, next up. Oh, they did have a sale on their calendars too, so I got that for 26 cents. If you know that ad with the goat on it. And I couldn't say no to possibly more fire starter. Got an oil filter right here for the H. A seat spring, because I mean these things are so cheap, might as well. And then here, I believe this is the bearing for the steering. Oh, okay, so these are the bushings for the seats. You can actually see seat bushing on there. Shift knob. This is the front bearing for the steering. And then here's our other seat bushing. So this is our replacement of exhaust pipe for the header there. And I think I was wrong. I thought this would be a thinner, cheaper wall. No, it's pretty thick actually. I'm actually pretty impressed with that. There is a dent on the side here, but I'm not going to throw a hissy fit about that because, I mean, I'm not restoring this tractor. It's not a big deal, and it was 17 bucks. Womp womp. And it's painted black too, so that's nice. Oh, and lastly, this box right here. I'm trying to remember what it is. I kind of like to intentionally forget what it is, so I get surprised when I open it. Oh, I know exactly what this is. So, if you had a sawtooth throttle on any Farmall tractor, and that sawtooth throttle is dated, you know how much of a pain they are. You could fix them, but for the price that these little, oh my Lanza, these little like replica M&W friction throttles are, you might as well just go with these. That is solid. Wow, that's pretty decent. And I love that part number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, maybe that's the speed setting. I don't know. It's just funny. And to dispose of that. And I know this is going to rustle a lot of jimmies in the comments because every time I point out it's fine, people get mad anyways. Yes, there's no flashing behind the wood burner because I need to insulate the shop still. But honestly, it's totally fine. I take my temp gun in here. That wall stays below 150 degrees and wood flashes at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't gotta worry. And on top of that, I got a fan blowing on it. And I've ran this thing way into the ketchup and we haven't had any problems with it, so. She's fine, guys, don't worry. I didn't get any cocktails though, so I think I'm just gonna have to demand a refund. Oh well, nothing can be perfect. Alrighty, first order of business. I also forgot to mention putting on these exhaust manifold gaskets. And I realized I cut out a gasket the other day for out of my Jack's Pizza box for the carburetor, but it looks like these came with gaskets. So either I'll probably just reuse the Jack's ones or I'll just reuse one of these. It would appear I missed some gasket. I think it's still seal fine, but I got standards. And anyone new to the channel, as you can tell by all this grease and grime, we're not restoring this tractor. We're just trying to get her to serve her purpose. Maybe we will someday, but this isn't my tractor I want to restore and spend the time and money on at the moment. It's my Farmall 504. And I'm trying to get that in the shop as soon as I can here. And in fact, once I get this out of the shop, I might actually pull it in immediately. And yeah, the 504 restoration is going to have a lot of big things coming. Oh gosh. But it's going to be pretty much nut to bolt, top to bottom. We even got to put a different wheel on it because it has a wheel off of like a International 300 or whatever, or a Farmall 300, and I want Farmall 504 wheels on both sides, just stuff like that. I think H wheels actually bolt to the 504 too. Like I could take these wheels and tires off of this tractor and put it on the 504, but I digress. That tractor is going to need new tires too. It's going to need a whole bunch of work, but I'm okay with that. Some guys might say it'd be more cost effective to just buy a new tractor or buy another one, a marketplace that's nicer, but if I'm still going to end up restoring a tractor, I'm actually in the long run going to save more money by just working with what I got. But I'll stop boring you guys with the details because you didn't click on this video to listen to me get all philosophical about finances and whatnot. And you got to remember it's a hobby. It doesn't always have to pencil out. Alrighty, finally time for our gaskets, and I must say I'm surprised. I thought these gaskets would be like a metal type gasket per se, but this is actually paper. Oh no, there's a little bit of metal in there. So it's like a paper encased, metal encased paper, for lack of better words. Very fascinating. Otherwise, I was just going to make my own gasket for this out of a Jack's Pizza box, because, well, that's what this channel is practically sponsored by. But I wanted to have the proper gasket on there for obvious reasons. Now, usually I like to put grease on paper gaskets because it helps keep on them. But for these gaskets right here with their metal insides, the point would be moot. And plus, I think if I take this header off again sometime within the next few days, it'd still be fine. But anyways, a few years, it'd be fine. This should be for the carburetor, and I think this is for the governor right here. I'm wrong. Oh, and I dropped it. So maybe it's like a universal piece for different ones, different tractors. Who knows? Now for the moment I have been waiting for ages, and that is to finally put this back on the tractor where she belongs. Beautiful. I'll get you off of there too. And bring you home. Now I don't want to crank on this too hard because I think this is actually how guys kill these headers, is they'll get it on here and they'll crank and crank and crank on it, and it'll put a lot of pressure on these headers and it'll break. That's just my theory. I'm not saying it's the right way or it's actually why, but I assume that's why this one was cracked over here. But this is going on pretty nicely. I'm not that worried about it. I did re-tap the threads in this too. When I was at my buddy's, we had a huge tap actually, and I ran that right on through, and she was dialed. And so it begins. I think I'm gonna need a deep socket for some of these too. I might get lucky. Now, an interesting thing I learned about these is that these tractors weren't designed to have loaders on them. Or at least I don't believe so, because when I was looking at the old sponsor manual, for lack of better words, the old advertisement manual, stuff like that for these lift-all pumps, they were designed to power implements and like plows and mowers underneath them, but there was no loaders. They just didn't have loaders back then or something. They had loaders. I mean, they had mechanical loaders, but I guess they just didn't quite have hydraulic loaders yet. So yeah, International, from my understanding, actually never offered an aftermarket loader for these tractors. So the more you know. While Scratch putting the carburetor on, I was just about to mount that, and I remembered I accidentally destroyed the packing for it for the main jet. So we're gonna have to put a pin in that. If I need to move this in a pinch, which I probably will end up doing, I'll probably just nab the carburetor from the other H, But for now, we'll just not worry about that. And next up, we'll move on over to the seat and put in that new spring and bushing. Now this seat isn't anything to write home about, but at the end of the day, it's a seat and it's functional. So why not? All right, time to take the seat off and get them bushings in. Man, that was a fight. Now we gotta let her cool down before we put some rubber on that. Well, I suppose while we wait for that steel to cool down, because this is real American steel and it's dense, it'll hold on to that heat for a while. Might as well just replace the oil filter here. So we already got the old filter taken on out. Got our new Wix filter right here, the 51172 flavor. Just gonna get her installed on in. Pop this John like such. And then new O-ring. Just dip this O-ring in some 30 weight I got sitting around. There you are, now she's all dialed. Now to press her on. And for those wondering about the shutters, I do have them and I did get them cleaned up and they got them working again. I have not worked with the shutter linkage yet. I'm not going to install them though on the tractor because some of the fins on it are messed up and I still haven't painted it. I will install at a later date, but just not right away here. I want to do them justice and make them right. Alrighty, now I'll bring you guys on around. Let's see how the metal's doing over here and see if I'll scorch my fingertips off or not. Alrighty, and I also got some anti-seize here. These bolts, well, they're still pretty hot, but at least I can hold it now. This guy, yeah, I'll let it cool off a little bit more. Maybe we'll mock up the spring while we wait. The more I think about it, I might need to take that shock off after all to get the spring in. I don't really foresee an easy way of getting it in any other way. There we have it. Alrighty, sweetheart, give me you. Now, let go now. There we have it. Alrighty, time to put the bushings right there on the seat so we don't get as much wobble action. Here's the bushings right here from Steiner Tractor. It looks like it works on a lot of other vehicles as well, a lot of other brands. I figured, I think a lot of these seats are more of a generic part. I don't know if they're necessarily an international part. But we'll just slide these on in here like so. Probably getting a little oil on that would make it easy, but that ain't hard at all. Get her in here. Go on to the other side. This one can require some patience, I can tell. That's in the bushing a little bit better. Getting this in with a spring. That's going to be interesting. So it'll either be super easy or hair tearing out. But either way, we're getting it done. I'm guessing I got to sit on it and then bring it on down. But if I sit on it and it comes loose, then that'd be very catastrophic and also very good for YouTube content. But I guess we'll get there when we get there. Well, I think I figured something out. I got a ratchet strap right here. I'm going to find a good secure spot to secure it to, like this really flexible tab on the back. And I'm gonna hook this up to the drawbar and just slowly strap it on down and work her into place that way. I think you'll be fine. All right. Now there is a lot of potential energy here that wants to be kinetic, Exhibit A. So we're just gonna be careful here. Stand to the side a little bit. Are you fully out? Yeah, you are. Oh yeah, this is working great. I did not realize how much tension was built up in these springs. There we go. Sweet. Now let's drive this guy on home. Just the tiniest little dollop of anti-seize. And bring the nut home. Whew, a lot of tension in there. And there we have it. One fixed seat. Alrighty, let's give her a trial here and see how she rides. That is a lot stiffer than my other H's seat, but that spring in there is probably also older and wallered out. Oh yeah. Yeah, this one definitely has you at a more aggressive posture, so she might need some fine tuning per se, but it's better than before when it was just sitting and rolling around and whatnot. You got to keep in mind too that this seat here isn't exactly stock, for lack of better words. She's been kept on over the years. All right, steering check. The next thing, or steering, seat. I am awful tonight, sorry. Seat check. Next thing we'll be doing here is the bearing for the steering shaft. That's where I got the word steering from. So right here, here's our steering shaft, and I think this bearing just sits on here, otherwise it wouldn't have a retaining nut. So I'm just gonna pop that nut on off and that cotter key, and then you could probably just pull that on off, fingers crossed, and I don't have to take this to the shop and press it on out. What better than a stack of summer tires to hold it vertical for you? Alrighty, and you can see I'm safe. I got a fire extinguisher there, so if the fire marshal ever runs on by, he knows that we're OSHA compliant over here at Dirt and Pavement. You know, one thing I never understood is when you go to like a Walmart or a Target or whatever, you know, 4th of July is coming up and they have all the fireworks out on display and they set the fire extinguisher right next to the firework. Whew, that was tough. I'm opting for a more traditional approach. I'm going to make sure to put this on the shaft where the seal doesn't go through so we don't compromise any sealing capabilities. This is a 1.1/8" size nut. Fortunately, my biggest socket that I have on hand in the new shop here is 1 inch. And I don't feel like going out to the other shop, and I don't feel that bad scratching up the shaft just a little bit here. It won't be seen. If it was more cosmetic and external, then I'd care a little bit more. But it'll be fine. She gets taut on there. Oh yeah, there we go. You have been needing to be replaced probably for a long time, buddy, and I will finally give you that liberty. Loose there? Yep, it is. It'll be an easy affair. Just drop the other bearing on and life is good. Oh, have stuff falling out. The heck? Did that fall out of the inner race? Was that like a shim? I was thinking maybe there'd be some shims behind here, but that's weird. Might have to take a look at that later in the International Parts Manual and see if that's an actual part. The other one fell down in the wheel. So I guess we'll just set that guy there for now. Clean up the shaft, inspect it, and then throw that other one on. Now I'm just going to compare this to the other one. Yep, they look about the same size, I'd reckon. No difference, except this one has more balls in it. Take some of the old grease and just kind of put it inside there. And just drop her on like such. See, now that is a little loose. So maybe that's what these shims were for. Like this is like a speedy repair sleeve or something. Now if we compare this to the old bearing, I'd say the old bearing had a little bit of play in it too. Is this an international bearing? Made in the USA, IHC, yeah, so this is an old international bearing. I think that's what these shims are for. I think they took out that play, because now if I put this shim in, it'd probably be easier for me to install it from the top. Kind of stick it in, like such. A little bit difficult to get in there, but you can get in there. Now that takes out the play, and that's a lot tighter, so I bet you that's exactly what those shims are for. Glad we got those in. Those shims just stick out the top a little bit. That's okay. I'm sure they should be pressed down more, but they'll be fine. Anyways, grab our nut here and bring her back on down. And the torque spec to this will just be, yes. Okay. Oh, I apologize. Yes is not the torque spec. It's actually guten tight. Das ist guten Titans. Jawohl. Alright, now that I've offended all my German viewers, now I'll offend the purist viewers too. I'm just going to reuse this cotter pin because she seemed pretty stout. And I don't really feel like walking all the way across the shop to get a cheap chintzy cotter pin when I could just reuse this good old international one. Try my hardest not to bang up the seal on the way through. There's a loader there. And lastly, the steering box. Getting our fluids. Now, I know a lot of people like to use corn grease for this, and that's totally fine. I don't have any accessible to me. So I just did what they actually run from the factory, and they just said 80-90 weight. That's exactly what this is right here. The nice thing about the corn grease is it won't leak as easily out, but this 80-90 weight will work just fine. I will say, that steering feels a lot better now that we put that new bearing in. Granted, we aren't driving with the weight of the loader on it at the moment, so there is that. But this thing has just always had some really weird steering feel to it. But that ain't too bad. Sweet, improvements people, upgrades people, upgrades. Next up, throttle.